Hello, viewers of Spell, and welcome back to the Spell Ray. Now, sorry for not putting out content in the last week. I had actually come down with the flu and had a sore throat, and just not a fun time. But now I'm back to bring you the next part of What If Midoriya Had Dimensional Magic. Now, I might bring you some different things. I'm just gonna try to focus on what I like to do for my personal what ifs. But I have thought about maybe voicing people's fan fiction or maybe even some fan translated books down the road. Would just like to hear what your thoughts would be if you would want me to try to make fan fiction in audiobook format. Currently enjoying some of that, so I just thought, hey, that might be interesting. Now, let's get on to What If Midoriya Had Dimensional Magic, Part 3. Wait, no. I guess this is part 4. My bad. So, with Midoriya being told he is joining 1A, he got his preparations going. And Asta got to work testing out his other equipment that he's going to have with his costume. First off, he would try the staff he had, a metal staff with a gem on the top. He would charge it with mana and cause the staff to release it in a blast of purple lightning. He'd look at the staff and just think, yeah, not gonna point this at anyone, and I'm probably just gonna use it in the really serious fights. And taking inspiration from the man who helped him, I can't remember what his name is. It's the same one who taught Asta sword fighting. He'd bring out what looked to be the bottom of a sword with no blade and only a wooden part extending out from the base. That formed a bit of a rounded triangle. Midoriya would enchant it to where he wouldn't need his grimoire to cause a blade to appear from it. He would call it Dimensional Creation Magic Sword, and prepare for classes the next day. The next day, at UA, Izuku would be about to enter his class. Midoriya would just be hoping that Bakugo would not be in his class. Unfortunately, he was sad to see Bakugo was indeed in his class. And he was having an argument with the boy who told Izuku that he was being loud and distracting in the entrance exam. Tenya Ida, telling Bakugo to get his feet off his desk. Bakugo just telling him that he can do whatever he wants. When Ida saw Midoriya, he would walk up to him and apologize for his actions earlier, believing Midoriya knew about the hero points. Midoriya would just say, I had no idea about the hero points. I just did what anyone would do, and I think that was the point. As Ida just said, yes, you must be. After hearing that, Ida would just say, I see. In that case, I am proud to say you are my fellow student. But before he could finish that, he would just hear her calling him from behind. She called him Deku, which threw him off guard. It was Ochako, and she thanked him for saving her. But she did ask why he seemed to have that reaction when she called him. And Midoriya would just explain that was actually supposed to be an insult. She would look shocked and think to apologize, but Midoriya would just say that I've been called that a long time by Bakugo over there, sticking his thumbs. As Bakugo just saying, what you saying, nerd? Since Midoriya's been around Asta, he's gotten a lot bolder. As Midoriya looked behind Ochako and said, is that a giant chrysalis or something? Pointing at Aizawa. At least someone managed to notice me. As everyone got to their seats, Aizawa said, it took you all 15 seconds to quiet down. That time will need to be improved. As he told them that it's time for a quirk evaluation test and to put their gym uniforms on. They would meet Aizawa outside. He'd give the ball to Bakugo and tell him to throw it with his quirk. He would throw it and get 700 meters. Everyone would be shocked, as Aizawa would give his normal speech, that our current society has you holding back your potential under the concept of everyone being equal, and that no one's born ungifted. But that's not true. And here at UA, you must acknowledge this, otherwise you will not be able to grow. As everyone nodded. Someone made the mistake of mentioning how this would be fun, and Aizawa would throw in a caveat. Whoever came in last would be expelled. And as someone else said, wait, we've all worked so hard. Why are we going through a secondary test? And shouldn't we be at orientation? You don't have time for such things. As Midoriya wondered, why is he so cranky? As he silently started to wonder if Yami would have been a better choice. But thinking back on it, well, actually, he's pretty sure Yami wouldn't have literally thrown him out of the bus if they couldn't shape up immediately. As everyone would go through the trials as normal, Midoriya would actually do fairly well, unlike in canon. He's trained with Asta, so he's the same physical, and would use his dimensional abilities like slide to get an advantage. At the ball throw, Aizawa would be interested to see what he could do, as Midoriya would just ask Aizawa, so, do we have to physically throw it, or can we just literally send it flying with our quirks? Aizawa would nod yes, as Midoriya would create a doorway portal and throw the ball into it. Aizawa would remark he had horrible stance, but after he closed it, the meter would say infinite. Midoriya just threw the ball into the Black Clover world and closed the door. Meanwhile, at the Black Clover universe, where he threw the ball would come flying out and accidentally land on one of the kids from Hajj Village. They would yell, yeah, ow, before realizing that they have a new ball. As Aizawa would sigh, this kid, what's his power? Seems very versatile. Oh well. Revealing that it was all a ploy. As Midoriya would just start to think, a ploy my foot. I'm pretty sure if we didn't meet his expectations, he would have kicked all of us out. As Midoriya started to get worried that Aizawa would realize that Midoriya is technically not even using a quirk. They would have class, and a few days later, All Might would just come out and say, welcome, class. And are you ready for your hero training? As everyone is excited, as All Might told them to put on their costumes to look the part. They would all walk out, some regretting the proportions of their costume, while others thought it was perfect. Midoriya would actually have his mother's designed costume like in canon, but it wouldn't look like a green, I don't even know how to describe his canon one. This one would be a dark. Other than that, he would have a cloak over a solid shirt, pants, and boots. While on one hip, he would have his sword hilt, and on the other, he would have his grimoire. He would also have 2 pouches on the back. All Might would go over the training, explaining to them that they will be taking part in a heroes versus villain battle. Midoriya was excited to be teamed up with Ochako. She seemed like a really nice person. And then he would realize that they're going up against Ida and Bakugo, of all people. Midoriya would just mumble that, are you sure these are random? As Ida seemed to be having similar thoughts. But Midoriya would just say, to be fair, if you're on the actual scene, you never know who you're actually gonna team up with and have to work together with. As Ida nodded. The rules would be explained to them that they must capture the bomb that the villains have. The villains win by protecting the bomb until the time limit or capturing the heroes. The heroes win by capturing the villains or the bomb. And let's start. Midoriya would ask Ochako if she had any ideas. She would say no, and Midoriya would just say that he's thinking of one. As they would enter the first floor, Ida and Bakugo would be going similar to Canon, with Bakugo just saying, "I'm gonna go deal with them. You just stay here and guard the bomb." With Ida being frustrated, Bakugo would just be wondering, it's been months. I haven't really mentioned it to Izuku, but who were those people he was with? I haven't seen them before. Those must be his friends. Something just seemed off about them to Bakugo. As the hero team was climbing up looking for the bomb, Ochako would wonder, what's the plan? Midoriya would just say that he has a feeling Bakugo's going to come after him. He'll distract Bakugo while she looks for the bomb. Ochako would nod as, well, Bakugo would show up, yelling at Midoriya, "Hey nerd, fight me! And I want to know who those friends of yours were." As Midoriya got in a battle stance, as both prepared for a fight, Bakugo would open up with an explosion as Midoriya would try to grapple. That would only last a second before Bakugo would break free and explode in Izuku's face. Izuku would go back in a cloud of smoke. As he pulled his sword hilt, he would channel mana into it and say, "Dimensional creation magic. Dimension sword." A ethereal-looking sword blade would come out of his sword hilt. As they prepared a fight, they would lunge at each other with Bakugo using his gauntlets to block the sword strikes and responding with explosions. In the waiting room where everyone was observing, several students would remark how it looks like they're fighting pretty intensely, with even All Might taking note of this. Midoriya is not holding any slashes back, and Bakugo's fighting with all of his strength as well. Midoriya would be finding himself a little bit on the back foot fighting someone like Bakugo, with Bakugo constantly creating explosions in Midoriya's face and Midoriya not being able to get clean hits, while Bakugo would be a little bit miffed how Midoriya just summoned his sword. His quirk was spatial oriented, he thought, as Midoriya would just say, "Shift." As Midoriya tapped his back foot and jumped forward, he would suddenly appear in front of Bakugo and make a slash. Bakugo would use his explosions and jump backwards, as the fight would continue. And with this new development, everyone in the observation room would be shocked. Wait, I thought Midoriya's abilities was that sword, or is it spatial oriented? As someone said, no, I was surprised when he pulled out that sword. I saw him destroy the zero pointer with some weird orb. Everyone was pondering this. Midoriya seemed to be using abnormal abilities for a quirk, as even All took note. Could they be different quirks? Or is he just so advanced in his quirk, he's using several techniques? As Midoriya would tell Bakugo that it won't be a repeat of what it was like when we were kids. As Bakugo said, "I wouldn't have it any other way." As an explosion would go off. A little note for the earlier parts, Bakugo's relationship with Midoriya has changed thanks to Bakugo feeling guilty about Midoriya getting lost when they were kids, with Bakugo still being a jerk, but a little bit less hostile towards Midoriya. Bakugo would jump back as Midoriya would use slide again, trying to get behind him, as Bakugo started chuckling after he got his footing. "I see. So that slide technique of yours requires you to move. I know your tells." As Bakugo brought a gauntlet up, "And since you're pulling out a bunch of your stops, I might as well pull out my trump card." As All Might came over the speakers and told Bakugo not to do it, but Bakugo quickly ignored him, as he just said, "I store up my sweat in these gauntlets, and then I release them." As he pulled a pin, Midoriya was shocked, as an explosion nearly engulfed him. Going back to Ochako, she would be chuckling at Ida's whole villain act, As the building shook, she would stumble out of her hiding spot as Ida would notice her, as they would start a fight, with Ida revealing that he removed all the loose objects for Ochako to use, as Ida would run at Ochako, trying to capture her, but she would use her gravity quirk to float, as she would jump towards the bomb before Ida grabbed it, and ran off, and ran to the other side of the room, panting at the fact that this bomb was really big and heavy. Meanwhile, the floor Midoriya and Bakugo was filled with dust. Bakugo saying, maybe I did go a little too far, but before a kick connected with the side of his head, with Midoriya saying, "Were you trying to kill me?" with his clothes smoking and being a little smoldered. "You nearly cooked me," with Bakugo saying, "That hurt, you nerd." As the fight would continue, All Might would begin trying to chastise Bakugo, but wasn't getting through thanks to the fact that both were pretty much going at it full throttle. Bakugo nearly used his second gauntlet in this fight before Midoriya would swing down and destroy the pin, saying, "You think I'm gonna let you use that again, Kacchan?" As Bakugo had a snarling look on his face. But before the two could do any more damage, All Might would announce that the hero team won. Ochako managed to trick Ida into moving the bomb where she could reach it, as Bakugo would go out in a huff, with Midoriya scratching the back of his head. I think I went a little overboard, as he looked at his costume. Man, can't believe I got it decently wrecked already. As they would name Ida MVP, him actually getting into the role and actually acting the part, while Bakugo would be considered the worst at this entire operation, leaving his teammate and really having no plan for backup, with Midoriya coming in second for confronting Bakugo by himself and with a reckless strategy. All Might would be pondering Midoriya's abilities and what the heck were they. And that will be all for this edition of What If Midoriya Had Dimensional Magic. I'm trying to speed up some bits, especially early on. I just feel that so many what ifs wind up doing this that everyone that looks at what ifs and even the story already knows these events pretty well, and I want to get into more interesting stuff I have for later, so I'll be giving some arcs more space than others. Other than that, please like, share, and subscribe. I am now on Odyssey, a YouTube alternative, link to my channel in the description, and please check out the What If Anime subreddit, where I hope the community can get together. This will be the Spellry, signing off.